Good morning, everybody. It's another episode of the Keep Going podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. It is episode 100. I got to give a quick clap it up for the boys. We love it. Episode 100.
100.
We love it. Dave, how you feeling about episode 100, brother?
I am fired up here today. You've been here through the whole journey. I've just joined a part of it, probably 20, 25 episodes, but I'm fired up. I'm excited to shine some light on mental health.
I love that, man. And Dave, thank you for coming along on this journey. And thanks to everybody before, Luke, Jackie, Adam, CNC, David Kamisa, Christian Torres. I can go on and on about the people that have impacted this podcast. And to kind of stay with that same trend, I got Jake Britton here today, and I'm fired up to have you for episode 100, Jake. What's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, dude. I gotta say, I didn't know it was gonna be episode 100. You texted me, what it was like a couple months ago, asking me if I wanted to do this, and sure enough, I see the post, episode 100. I'm like, dang, dude, I didn't know I was that qualified of a guest to be on here for the 100th episode, but I'm excited.
Well, Jake, you've been a big part of my life, not only in the professional world, but just in sports in general, man. We obviously love the Cubs. It kind of brought us together a couple of years back. And I was really hoping during this time we'd be celebrating maybe a World Series run, but it didn't work out that way. It's okay. Maybe this time next year we can bring you back on for an episode for sure.
Man, I tell you, better be this time next year. The Cubs are playing some October baseball, or I'm going to be a little feisty again.
I get it. A little ornery. And I'll tell you this, Ashton, and thank goodness my fiance is still sleeping. Our wedding is scheduled for this time next year. And she didn't know when she booked the dates that this would be a possibility that the Cubs would be making a World Series run. So like she hates the fact that that could happen. So let's just say that in nice, quiet solidarity here this morning for sure.
I'm with you.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I want to get right into it, man. Obviously, it's a mental health podcast. Obviously, you've worked with thousands of athletes as a coach at NCSA, and now the impact you're making in your job now, which we'll go into. No spoiler there, but talk about mental health for you. Why did you feel like you were a good fit to come on today?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's something it's a huge part of an athlete's well-being that I just don't, it's not talked about and stressed enough, right? Obviously, it's especially coming from a football background myself, you deal with a lot of, physical toughness and mental toughness, right? And doing things that you want to be almost like an alpha mentality always, right? And it's important to kind of take a step back and see what else is important, right? And what can we do to take care of ourselves and make sure we're not overextending ourselves, stressing ourselves out too much, and again, just making sure that you're in a good spot to compete optimally. I mean, right? If you're your physical well-being can be there, but if what you got going on above the shoulders isn't completely healthy and where you need to be, probably not gonna, you're not gonna play as well as you need to. So it's a really important aspect of sports that I think is, over the course of the last 10, 15, 20 years or so is starting to come to light more and more and more and more. But something that continues to, need to grow. And I think athletes just need to be more comfortable talking about it too. And it's, this is why a podcast like this is so cool, because having a bunch of former athletes, coaches on to shine light onto it, I think is important, because hearing from others that are, might be going through the same things you may or may not be going through, it always helps you get through, what could be a difficult time.
Yeah, Jake, I love that, man. And that's a beautiful answer to start off. I'm going to kick it to Dave because I think he made a great point. You could be the best athlete ever, but when you get out there and you don't have it between the ears, it's not going to go the way that you want. And I don't think athletes get that sometimes. Go ahead, Dave. Touch on that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think having a strong mentality is important, but you have to check in on your emotions and how you feel every single day. Just going to practice, playing games, you're not going to be at your best if you're not mentally there and you're anxious, overwhelmed. So right. I think stepping back and knowing how you feel when you're going into a game, into a practice, whatever it may be, into school, into life, is so important, not just a sport, but in life in general.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's something that Jake said as well, why we're running this podcast every week and why we're sharing these resources, because it's something, and I've made it very clear on this podcast, I didn't think was real 10, 12, 15 years ago. It's like crazy how far we've come, and thank goodness, because now I can talk about it and make up kind of for lost time. Jake, I guess to kind of combat that last question, talk about mental health when you were a player, when you were a coach. Like, What were things that you found success with? Are there things that you did you wish you could have done better? Talk about that for athletes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as a player, the biggest one is just being around your teammates. Kind of going. It's almost like, I joke about it with my boys, but we had like a shared suffering, right? Where you go through, whether it's a hard practice or tough off season workout, whatever it is, you guys are going through that together, and you can kind of almost relish in that with your guys. And I remember we had one particular spring ball where we had to do a wall sit, and it's kind of like a punishment for missing class checks, and we did it as a offensive line unit, right? We do everything together, nothing's individual. So whole unit gets
Exactly.
punished for this whatever I can't even remember the details now, but missing class, dude, we did a wall sit for we were on the wall for like 38 minutes, legit 38
Wall
minute wall
sit.
sit,
Yep.
while guys are going out doing up downs. And I remember I sat in the indoor facility for like an hour and a half after practice with like two or three other my teammates, and we just tossed the football around. And I mean, what can you do, right? You went through it together, and that's what it is. Again, it's I think having, again, it's a terrible term, probably there's a way better way to phrase it, but having that kind of shared suffering with your teammates is something that you can you bond over with. And I think as a coach, what's important is you have to remember you're dealing with young people, right? Coaches are adults. Coaches are fully developed individuals, right? That have a little bit more together, right? They understand themselves a little bit more. They understand how to handle certain adverse situations a little bit better. Whereas students, right? They're still developing. They're kids, man. They're figuring out. They got a million other things going on, not just football. And that's always something you have to remember as a coach is whatever sport it is, right? I know, Pat, you dealing with baseball and whatever athlete you are, there's so much more going on in these kids' lives than just what you're dealing with them in. So you always have to remember that, hey, did they have a bad day at school? Is there something going on behind closed doors at home that you might not know about? There's all these things you have to consider and think about. And, you have to have a really good feel, and, the special coaches do, but you have to have a really good feel for when to kind of push a kid a little bit more. And maybe I need to lay back in certain situations too. So it's hard. It's hard to do because, they don't like to communicate all the time, but
Right.
it's just it's something you gotta understand how your
Yeah.
players are functioning day to day.
That's an incredible answer. And I think there's someone to be said about when someone's in Baraboo, Wisconsin, they just bring that extra energy. That's what I had to touch on real quick. Shout out Baraboo, Wisconsin. But in all seriousness,
What a
man,
place, man.
oh, just a beautiful place. What I would tell you is this. I think when it comes to working with student athletes, it's not cookie cutter, right? Like it's a opportunity to really impact them personally. We have the same teaching tactics, same coaching techniques, but really making sure, okay, how far do I take them today? How do I discipline them one and love them twice as hard? And I think in the mental health world, that's so important to give that important individualized attention to each situation. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. I think having some self-awareness of the surroundings around you is extremely important to have. And bouncing off that, I have a question around self-awareness. For you, Jake, how do you know your self-awareness around and just how you're feeling? How do you check in on yourself?
Yeah, man, that's an awesome question. I don't know if I'll provide the best answer. You gotta, I guess, think about it a second. But I mean, really, it goes back to the whole concept of just being where your feet are, right? And really understanding what is within my control, what is not. And that's why, again, I'm very biased. I played offensive line. That's the position group I coach with, but that's why I love offensive linemen, because there is so much, and really just like sports in general, right? But in my position group specifically, there's so much out of your control, right? I can't control if a quarterback makes a good pass. I can't control if a receiver catches the ball, if the running back makes his right read. Dude, I can't control if the defense is getting stops, right? If they give up 1,000 points. So, controlling the controllables, I think is a huge thing there. And I mean, it's just one of those things that, yeah, in athletics, it's great to talk about, but bringing it with you in life now, right? Where I'm working in an office job, something goes wrong that's out of my control. I can't get all worked up about it and, freak out. I just got to figure out what's the problem, how are we going to get a solution done, and what can I do to help that? I think that, that was something that was instilled in me by, I mean, God, probably every coach in my life, but I think with my college position coach specifically,
Yeah,
so
shout him
good at
out.
that.
Shout him out, dude.
Shout out Drew Nystrom. What a guy.
I love that.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just really that whole concept of be where you're at, control what you can, and hopefully whatever problem, adverse situation arises, you're able to sort through it, whether it's an individual issue or with your team. And again, I think that's one of the most valuable skills athletics gives you throughout the entirety of your life. Because I mean, I really do believe there's a certain, there's a population of people that really struggle with problem solving. And I think we've all, we run into people like that all the time, whether it's
Right.
professionally, I mean, heck, at the grocery store figuring something, whatever it is, right? You
Yeah.
run into it. And I think that athletes, especially the ones that want to compete at high levels, they just excel at that skill when they get out of their, for however long they play, but obviously out of it into the professional. And I mean, you carry it with you into work, but your relationships too. And, I'm married to an athlete, so we're both competitive. There's a lot of button heads, but I mean, I think we do a great job of solving our problems, figuring out where we're at, and communicating effectively because of our past.
Right.
Yeah, Dave, I'm having a tough time unlayering these answers, man. These are fantastic.
I'm just rolling. I'm sorry.
No, dude, no, it's a good thing because I want to go in like 19 different directions, but I'm going to stay with the team mantra first. I think it's so big. Be where your feet are, but also understand when crap hits the fan, we can rely on our teammates, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can rely on our wife, our friends, our family, whatever it may be. That doesn't make us weak. I would say that makes us strong because now
For sure.
I've gone in the situation. Hey, I'm vulnerable. I'm accountable. We're going to get this done. I just might need a little extra push and maybe some added guidance or knowledge here. Dave, what do you think on that?
Yeah, it comes down to you have this moment right now. Like the past is gone, the future is not there. You have this moment to control. And having that present mindset is extremely important to have for your mental health, just to do what you can do right now to set yourself up for the future. Don't worry about so much the future or the past. Yeah, be where your feet are. I love that answer.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And Jake, I'd say this too, and I want to stay on this. I'm still on layering that answer. Talk about your wife, man. I know.
Oh man,
I can't have you just skate by that because I know when you started talking about your wife, you're like, oh, I'm going to keep going. Talk about your wife, man.
Yeah, dude, it sucks. She's sleeping right now, so she won't be able to hear me butter her up a little bit. But I mean, man, we met in college. I was a freshman. She was a couple years older than me, so she was a junior, but she was a basketball player too. So, and I'm, dude, probably the best basketball player in University Dubuque women's basketball history. I mean,
that's incredible.
Absurd. Like, I mean, I think I can get this right. She was the second player in school history with 1,000 points. I want to say it was 500 rebounds, 300 assists, 200 steals, and 100 blocks.
Incredible.
I think. Yeah. So, I mean, high level athlete, man. But she's competitive, fiery. She's a fiery individual, which I love because I'm very mellow and very laid back. So it
complements well. Yeah,
it does. But man, I mean, it's something that, I mean, she watching her work now professionally and handle, she deals with all kinds of different industries in her job. So, I mean, she works for a health insurance company now. So, she's dealing with all sorts of different industries and different individuals. And, her job's always putting her with tougher clients because she can handle those kinds of people. And,
oh yeah.
But it's awesome. It's awesome seeing that. And like I said, I think we have a good, an outstanding relationship just because we're different kind of personality wise in some ways, but very similar in other ways too. Cause I mean, for the most part, she's pretty laid back, but I mean, when things get fiery, she can get fiery for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like, and this is kind of a question too, like, do you feel like having her by your side gets you through some of those tougher days?
Oh, big time, big time. I don't know how to elaborate, but just the answer is absolutely yes. I feel so lucky to have a partner that, again, I think maybe it's because we're both athletes, maybe it's not, but just personality wise, that whatever even is just questions, right? I mean, Pat, I'm sure we'll jump into it later, but I changed jobs in March, right? And having somebody like that I can just talk about that with and bounce ideas off of, talk pros and cons with, stuff like that. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. I love that. And we're going to go into that, of course, later with the obviously new job change for you. We miss you for sure, but we'll touch on the timeline. But it's kind of cool when you have someone that will just listen, right? I think oftentimes we have people that reach out to us every day and like, they just want to send you 8 texts in a row and they just want, hey, I'm here. Like they want to FaceTime you and they want to just talk to you. And I think it's kind of a lost art and I need to get better at it too. Cause I'm very, life vest oriented. Like I want to save you. And I think there's a fine line between when you got to do some saving and when you got to do some listening. And I think
for sure, man,
for our listeners today, take that to heart, because I love what you just said about your wife. Like, you complement each other well, but every day is going to be a little bit different. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Having, if you don't have a significant other, having just someone just to talk to. Not
Yes.
everyone has that person that maybe they haven't found yet.
Yes.
So just having a conversation with someone that you are comfortable with is important to have. And it may be wife, girlfriend, significant other, whatever it may be, is key. I want to go into a little bit of your routine. We talk a little bit about routine on this podcast. What do you do when things are going well with your routine?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is just traced back to when I was an athlete, but I'm an early person. And this isn't for everybody, but I'm an early riser. I'm usually up. I mean, the latest I'll sleep in is like 6 a.m. most of the time. So I'm usually up between 5 and 6. And what I found really well is trying to accomplish something at home before I go and start my day. So whether
Love
it's
that.
do the dishes right now, we got a lab, so I'd usually take her for like a half hour, 45-minute walk, whatever it is in the morning. But get out of the house, get moving, do something around the house, clean my room, do the dishes, make my bed, whatever it is, do something to start your day on a high note. Now, like I said, not everybody's a morning person, but I think if you can set yourself, whatever time you get up 15 minutes earlier, get something done, and then get your day going. I think I mean, it's a huge, I think it's something that, yeah, I don't know what it is. It just kind of checks a mental box. Like, all right, I got something accomplished. Let's get the rest of this stuff done. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really rolling for me, guys. I think like having it, this is something I tell everybody all the time, especially athletes when you're coaching. But if you're going to be getting up, sleep, man. Go to bed at a decent hour. Be disciplined about it, right? Look, we're going to have late nights, especially students, right? You think about what they got going on. They might have a big test, homework, whatever they're doing. But man, if you can get sleep is so vitally important. I mean, especially for myself, I could never function on less than like 7 hours of sleep now.
Same way.
I have to get a good night's rest, and being disciplined about that. I know it can be hard. I mean, heck, dude, it's hard for me. I'm laying in bed scrolling Instagram reels or whatever, and then I'm like, man,
Right.
I gotta stop. So, but being disciplined about it, and just instilling that kind of keeping your structure kind of the same. And I even try to do it, the weekends, I'll allow myself to maybe stay up a little later, sleep in a little bit later, but still trying to figure out a way to, perform optimally. And I think that, I mean, again, I'm rambling again, but starting your week off strong too, guys. I'm a big believer in getting something done like Sunday night. The Sunday scaries are a very real
Oh
thing.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
trying to get something done Sunday night, whether it's maybe I just clear my work inbox so there's not as much there on Monday, or whatever it is, making sure I clean, have to have all my laundry done, folded, put away. It's not one less thing I have to worry about, but getting some done to kick the week off too. It's just, I guess, a kind of an overarching theme of start fast is really the biggest thing.
Start fast. Speaking like a true old lineman, baby.
Yeah.
Speaking like a true old lineman. This is what I would say, David. I think we're probably on the same wavelength. I love how authentic that answer is, because Jake, like, not every week is like, I woke up, I went to the gym, no, like, as much as you can try to make non-negotiables, there's going to be 15 minutes where the dog takes what on the floor, or when you get stuck in 15 minutes of traffic, or your work call that was supposed to go 30 minutes goes 2 hours, and you're sitting there
sure.
like, okay, how do I adjust and still hit my non-negotiables? But it always has a different flavor every week. I feel like that was the authentic answer. Dave, how about that, man? How you feel there?
Yeah, I like that answer a lot. Creating a good habit to start off your day. It doesn't have to be 10 things, just maybe do one thing. It takes 5 minutes to, not even 5 minutes to make your bed. Do one
Right.
thing that's just okay. I feel good. I started myself off with something productive, and now I start my day.
Right. That makes you really dangerous, man. When you start off with that win, that makes you hit. They call it a winning streak for a reason, boys. That's how you
Yeah.
get rolling, and that's how life goes. That's kind of funny too, because we haven't got into more of the football stuff yet. I need to sit there and talk about, Jake, when you started getting rolling with sports, man. Like, little Jake Britton, like, what was going on? What sports were you playing? How'd you end up, living this game?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, honestly, in total honesty, baseball was the first sport I fell in love with.
You
And,
better believe it, baby.
it
Best game in
was,
the world. Come on.
man, I started playing that when I was, 4 or 5. So I had rolled with that all the way through high school. I started playing football. So I actually did 1 year of football when I was, God, I was probably 9 or 10, and I did not like it. I actually ended up quitting before like the game started. I hated it. Did not like it at all. And then the next year, a new youth football program started in town. So I'm like, all right, let's give this another crack and do it. So that was probably 6th grade, because I think I did a year and then jumped into the middle school team. So really 6th grade is when I started really playing football. So I mean, rolled through it and obviously just loved the game, kept playing every year. And then as you get into high school, of course, it starts to get a lot more competitive, and obviously jumping up into varsity football as a junior then. Played as a junior. I earned a starting job as a junior on the varsity team, which was really cool at the time. And from that transition from junior into senior year is when I really started to think, all right, I want to play this more. I don't want this to be my last go.
Do you remember when that light bulb kind of hit you?
Honestly, not when I guess not the light bulb of when I knew I wanted to keep playing, because I think I always kind of had that. But obviously as a varsity athlete, that's when you start to, it starts to feel real. I had a little bit of a light bulb moment going into my senior year where, I'll be honest, guys, my junior year, I don't think I was a very good player in high school. It was, I was light, I was weak. I don't think I played as fast as you should. But then going into senior year is when I was like, all right, dude, I'm 6'4". I just put on like 30 pounds in the off season. Like, it's time to, it's time to kind of be a man out here on the football field. So I ended up having a great senior year. And then kind of my high school coach, shout out Jeff Schroeder. He's the man.
Shout him out.
He's at McHenry now. He's at McHenry High School, the head coach there. So doing some good things, getting that program turned around. But no, I mean, he was awesome throughout the recruiting process. And I mean, I was pretty much open to whoever would give me an opportunity to play ball. So, I mean, D3, D2 schools had some conversations with some FCS programs, didn't amount to too much, but just wanted to keep playing. So went through the whole cycle, man. I visited a ton of schools, a ton of programs. And I went out, I remember the University of Dubuque. That's where, I ended up playing there. Coach Nystrom comes to recruited our area too. So that was nice to have my position coach be the guy recruiting me. But
yeah,
he comes to school and I remember thinking, all right, they're coming off a 4-win season, not super, because I was getting recruited by the YX, UW Platteville, Stevens Point, Oshkosh, visited Whitewater.
Some good programs.
Dude,
some good programs.
Legit big time programs. So I'm thinking, all right, this 4-win school in Iowa. I mean, the facilities look nice, and somehow that guy coaxed me to get on campus. Dude, the second I got on campus, I was like, this place is sick. This is awesome.
Unreal.
I mean,
that's unreal.
They have legit like D1 facilities. It's a cool, like, Dubuque's an awesome, beautiful town, man. So I mean, fell in love right there. Was down. I mean, I chose them over St. Thomas, was ultimately my second choice. And I mean, dude, powerhouse. They're in the FCS now. That's how good they were at the D3 level. Pretty much got kicked out of playing D3 football. So
exactly.
And I wound up there and had it. I mean, like I said, man, my position coach, I owe him so much just from developing me as a person more than anything. I mean, I was a pretty average athlete, turned me into an okay football player, but developing me as an individual there. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the best decision. I mean, I met my wife there. All my closest friends are from there. So, you never know what is behind the curtain, I guess, until you really take a look too. So I know I'm giving you a lot to unpack, but
no, man, I love that answer. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really it. I mean, that's what led me there. And I mean, I credit that my 4 years there is really, that's what made me who I am. So
yeah. Dave has to stop smiling since you gave that answer, because Dave played a little bit in Iowa as well. Okay. Dave, talk about your time in Iowa and how you relate to that, brother.
Yeah, I found myself in the recruitment process. I went to junior college in Rock Valley.
Shout out the boys. Shout out the Golden Eagle boys. Let's go.
I ended up going to Mount Mercy University in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Played there for 2 years and then transferred out to Union College in Kentucky for grad school. But yeah, I loved the people in Iowa, the environment. Got nothing but good things to say about the state of Iowa. But I got a question for you. When someone may be going through something and feels like, I don't really know if I want to keep on playing my sport, or I kind of feel like quitting, what would you tell them?
Man, that's an awesome question. I think you got to think of the experience you could be missing out on, especially at the high school level, man. I think, you could run into kids all the time that are like, I don't think this is for me.
Right.
You just I think you have to have a conversation on what they could be missing out on experience wise. because again, I mean, us three know athletics can give so much, but from there too, I think kind of hyping the kid up a little bit and loving them with like their development and where they're at as a player.
Yeah.
If you can genuinely talk to them and give them a reasonable, like, I had an example when I was coaching last year, a kid that wanted to, he didn't want to play anymore. And just talking to him like, dude, from the day you showed up in June, right, and we started summer camp, you are 10 times better now. And you can show them that stuff, man. You can show them tangibly on film things that they're improving on and getting better. And I think when kids see that, like, man, okay, maybe I am getting a little bit better at this game. I can play this a little bit because, there's today's world, right? It's a lot of instant gratification, and especially in sports, man, that just doesn't happen. That's not a thing in athletics unless you are a truly special and gifted athlete.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen, man. Especially with developing high school offensive linemen, and just, players in general. It doesn't. It's not a linear path up, right? So you gotta, if you can show these kids, hey, you're doing these things really well, you're continuing to get better. If you play this, you stick this out for not only the rest of this year, but the next 3, 4, whatever years of your career, man, you can be a good player. I see it in you. It's happening every day. But I think that sometimes can get lost, especially just when you get, dude, seasons are long. You get lost in the grind of a season. You get tired, man. If you're buried on a depth chart, you can see why that can be mentally exhausting and you just want to give up on it. But if you can show, hey, you're continuing to do this every day and there's going to be opportunity if you stay on this path, I think that's a huge thing for those kids.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things I've ever heard on the podcast, because I think it's so big. Dave, I know you feel the same. I think it's so big when you get out there with a kid and you set a goal and you show them that you believe in them and the progress that they're making, they can conquer the world, man. Go ahead, Dave.
Believing in your players can go such a far way. It could change their life.
Yes.
It could make them one decision away from just continuing to play their game and keep on growing themselves into a person that they could never imagine they could be. Just
big time.
That belief.
Dude, yeah. You got to coach if you're a coach, you got to coach every kid the same, right? You have to absolutely, you got your best kid, whatever, give him a lot of attention. You got to coach him the same as the 100th guy on your roster.
Right. And that's a coaching style, right? And that's a culture thing. And I know people throw around culture these days, but like, if we set this expectation and this standard, you need to bring it every day, or this might not be what you're supposed to do. And that's okay. But like, we set this precedent, come in, bring the best that you have every day. And I'm going to coach you with love and effort and passion. That's a big thing.
Big time. That steeps through your players then too, right? You got older guys in the room then they're developing into on-field coaches, and they're helping bring those young guys along then too, because they've went through the same thing. So it's huge, man.
No, I absolutely agree. And while I'm on that train of thought, I got to ask you, man, because you come on today, we're 29, 30 minutes in, and I'm like, dude, I feel like we're just sitting at Old Crow right now, Wrigley, just chopping this up. Tell me your keep going moment, man. I think it hasn't always been this guy. So I want to hear it. I want our listeners to hear it too.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a stereotypical story, right? I went into Dubuque my freshman year, and through the recruiting process, you guys know how it is. You get a lot of love from all these guys. They're telling, you're the best offensive lineman prospect we got, whatever it is, right? You're getting a lot. So, I show up there fall camp, and I played a tackle. It's actually what I wound up playing, but I show up fall camp, I'm playing guard, and I'm with the third group. So I'm not, I wouldn't even be with the travel team at this time as camp opened. And it's like, all right, it's fine. There's some young guys. I got, an opportunity to come in and compete and try to work your way up the depth chart a little bit, but start to realize, man, like, all right, this is real now. So, you kind of go through that. And actually what happened was, I think it was the first day we put on full pads in my first freshman camp. I ended up spraining my ankle, pretty bad one. It kept me out for like 3-4 weeks. I didn't come back till game week about. And it was, you guys know, I'm sure you guys have banged up an ankle or, whatever. Those linger. A bad ankle sprain will linger for a year. So, kind of dealing with that all year, and, just struggling to be like, all right, man, I feel like I'm not getting an opportunity to play and show myself. I'm down on the scout team the first half of the season. And, it was a good situation to be into because we had a great offensive line. Dude, one of the best offensive line at the Division III level I've seen that year. It was like 4 seniors, 4 all-conference guys. It was incredible. So it's like, you're probably not starting, but it's like, man, I want to get on the bus. But, sure enough, you just keep your head down and keep working. Someone either slips up or maybe you just earn a job. Right? I remember one of the guys in front of me, he was late for a meeting. And at that point, our offensive line coach was like, swap this out. So it's doing what you can do, like do what you're supposed to do, and good things will happen. Right. I mean, it's a perfect example of it. So next thing you know, I'm on the bus traveling for the playoff game we had that year. And the next year I started every game the rest of my career. So, it's whether it's fighting through an injury or whether you're going through, an opportunity where maybe you're not playing as much as you want to. If you just keep doing the right things and create those good habits every day, like it's good things will come to you. That's in athletics and in life.
Incredible. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Yeah.
And you're a testament to that. And it's not like, and I think in this kind of instant gratification age, you got guys that just want it right now. If they don't get it, they leave their job. They jump in the transfer portal. They quit their team. They go somewhere else. If you got a guy or a girl that grinds this thing out and puts the work in, it makes you a scary, scary athlete. Go ahead, Dave.
Dude, big time.
Exactly. Like you said, when you have patience, put in the work, put in the time, good things take time in anything. You're not going to have success right away. Things might not go your way right away. But if you continue to put in the time, to put in the work, good things will happen.
Amen. Amen. And Jake, I just laughed, dude, because you're sitting there in a school in Iowa that you never would have gave any consideration to. You get there, you're not even starting, right?
I'm not even on the bus. I'm with the scout team with the third group.
And then you throw the aspect of your wife in the mix. And then all of a sudden, like, this is like a whirlwind of things that, like, if you don't stay with this, your life is completely different, man.
Yeah, dude, big time. I think about, of course, if I went somewhere else, I would have made friends there or whatever. You get good relationships.
You're not a tough guy to like and talk to. That's not the issue. But
yeah, of course. But it's like the guys I'm buddies with now, I can't imagine having different friends. It's like the same. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy the way life takes you. I mean, it's again, I'll one point, but my offensive line coach always said this: like, you guys are all going to be standing at each other's weddings someday, and sure enough, that's what we're all doing. So I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, I got three college teammates in mind coming up. Yeah. I'm battling with some allergies, but yeah, that's incredible. Like, that's what life is all about. It's about the people. It's about the stories. It's about the experiences. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I love that moment because so many people can relate to that listening to this podcast today. We've all been there. We've all gone through it. We've all gone through that time where, man, everybody wants to be on the field in a sport or be the best player. But if you can, I hate the saying, we talk about it, trust the process, but trust what you can do every single day. It will work out for you.
Yeah.
Keep believing in yourself.
That's a Steve Peterson classic. Like, trust the work, like trust the damn work. Like, that's what's going to get you through it. Jake, I love that answer, man. And I love how you broke that down for athletes that could be going through some setbacks. Because, man, we got a bunch that are sitting here on this podcast. I got people in my facility at Athletes HQ that came up this week and said, I was letting the horses out this week and we were listening to your podcast, or I had the podcast on in the car for my kids this week. It's like, they need to hear that it's not always going to be perfect. Thank you for doing that, man, because that means the world to me and our listeners. Thank you for doing that.
Dude, I mean, adversity is all about how you respond to it. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you can really take a measured look at every tough situation, I mean, you can probably come up with a solution. Yeah. Will it be the right one? Maybe not, right? You might create more adversity for yourself and whatever's going on. But as long as you take a measured approach, you're probably going to get where you're trying to get to. It's going to happen. Again, dude, it's going to be athletics. And dude, if I sat here and told you I never had a fight with my wife, I'd be lying, right? We have adversity in your relationship. You work through these things. You figure out the problem. You figure out what the problem is. If you can be measured in your approach to an adverse situation, man, you're going to go a long way. If you can problem solve and do it where you're not tearing others down on the way, like, life's going to be good to you.
Hey, man. And I heard a stat this week. I was listening to a Molly Fletcher podcast. She's fantastic. If you haven't listened to Molly, she was talking about how women in the sports world, right, that if you were a college athlete, 75% of the women in high positions, right, positions of power, were college student athletes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, incredible how big of a benefit that is in getting through it. The keep going mantra. I hate to beat a dead horse, but like keep going. And there's going to be one-offs. There's going to be exceptions where you have to go a different route. A lot of the times, man, look at yourself in the mirror and just keep going. I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it. We're at the 36 mark, Dave. I'm going to go rapid fire questions. Dave, all you, man. Go ahead.
Let's do it. If you had just one thing to say to someone that may be stuck or maybe wanting to change or not where they want to be, what would you tell them?
Man, that's an awesome question. I would say, look at your day to day and what are you doing to improve your situation? And it goes back to kind of that concept of instilling habits, right? And I think the biggest thing to understand is these habits that you create, you're not like, I'm not going to wake up one day and say, all right, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. every day for the rest of the time, right? You have to do it over and over again. So you have to create this structure, and it's discipline is really what it is. Create this discipline in your day to day, as long as that is working towards what you want to improve. I think that's the biggest thing, is just creating a habit for yourself. And again, like I said, to emphasize it more, the habits it's not going to happen over a day, a week, a month. You have to do it. You have to do it every single day and instill the discipline in yourself of whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to change, whatever you're trying to improve. A lot of times, you know what that is and you know what you have to do. You just have to figure out, how am I going to instill this in my day-to-day life, and how am I going to do it every day?
Love it.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Talk about someone who inspires you.
Oh man, dude, this is tough. I got a lot. I mean, family, right? And I want to make sure my folks are in town too. I got to make sure they're not walking up. But I mean, dude, my parents every day, the way my dad works. I mean, he's a software engineer, so the way he does things and goes about his business and wants to support his family, our family every day. And my wife is the way she is transitioned from athletics into the professional world. And I mean, my buddies, like, I'm just always so happy for all of them when they have great accomplishments. I'm in a wedding for one of them in a couple weeks, November 2nd. So it's like, that's coming up. You're always so happy for those guys and seeing them just accomplish great things. I think what really inspires me is seeing the people close to me have great things happen to them. That's like the best thing is seeing your friends and former teammates. And I mean, heck, dude, like position coaches that you had and guys you knew get new jobs and get promotions, whatever it is, like just seeing the people close to you succeed is the coolest thing. Cause I think it does light a little bit of, if you're a competitor, it's going to light a little bit of a fire under your belly too, and be like, man, I want to do something like this. I want to continue to improve. So I think stuff like that is huge. I mean, it's a little jumbled of an answer, but it's really what it is.
No, man, I think love is the best thing we do, and loving those people as they reach their goals. And there's a finish line, but we all reach it at different times. I think that's beautiful. Go ahead, Dave.
What would you say to your younger self?
Man, that's a great question.
Dave had his Wheaties today, Jake. Come on,
man. That's the state of my younger self, man. I would tell him to do so. It's gonna be super, super simple. I'd tell him to get in the weight room a little bit more. I was never a big weight room warrior. I would tell him to get in the weight room a little bit more. I probably would have been a better football player. And do and study more. That's what it would be. Study more and get in the weight room a little bit more. Yeah. It's such like almost a little bit of a meathead answer, but legit, like that's probably what I would tell myself as an athlete is do that. Like there's not much I'd change, because what you did is what led you here. So it's hard to go back and say, what else I would do differently.
I love it. Work on yourself.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Hey, man, I got one last one. And this is episode 100. So I actually did think of one question I was going to ask you. Cubbies are in town.
Yeah.
They do a random raffle. Jake Britton gets selected to sing the 7th-inning stretch.
Okay.
You get to have one Cubs legend sing with you to the whole stadium. Who is it going to be?
That's an awesome question. Okay. I mean, I probably got to just go to who my favorite player was growing up. I mean, you know what I'm doing? This is what I'm doing. I'm bringing Sammy Sosa back to Wrigley.
Bring the guy back.
That's what I'm doing. It's Sammy Sosa, 100%. I'm getting him in the building.
I love that. Sammy was my favorite player growing up. And
he's the man. It's a travesty he's not been welcomed back there yet.
If it takes this podcast to get Sammy Sosa back in Wrigley, I will take that in our 100th episode, man, because I love slamming Sammy, man. Great answer.
They got to 21 deserves a flag. They got to put it up.
Put it up, baby. Bring Sammy home, man. I love it. I will wrap us up today, boys. But before I do that, Jake, this has been incredible, man. I mean, anytime I can just sit back and get caught listening, that's how we know we had a great episode today. But I want to give you a little bit more face time, give you your flowers moment. Is there anything on the pod today that you haven't touched on that you said, hey, I woke up this morning and I had to tell the people this?
Oh man, I don't think so. I was thinking about like what we would talk about, and I think we hit on it, man. And the biggest things is just indeed be disciplined. I mean, control what you can and sleep, man. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Harp on these kids. They gotta sleep, brother. They gotta get their rest. It is amazing how much more you can perform when you're rested properly.
Love it, man. Well, thank you for being you. Thank you for being here. Dave, cap us off, brother.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I loved your energy today. I know you've impacted a bunch of listeners today, so thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it, guys. This was awesome. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah. Shout out Baraboo, Wisconsin. The magic is still here, baby. Episode 100. I'm fired up. We got football on in London. Oh, man, let's go for another couple hundred, Dave. I'm fired up, baby. Let's do it.
Fired up.
You know it, baby. I love you guys. Keep going. Love it. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Keep going.
All of it.